Spursy.
Hey, this is Wicked Spursy, Mike, Steve, and Echo the dog, who is right on top of me right now. Although I can't imagine she's going to contribute much, but in the absence of Brian from Rhode Island, I suppose I will allow her into our very exclusive studio. Mike, happy Sunday. How are you today?
Happy goddamn Sunday. I want to point out that this behind me here, this picture behind me, was taken by the Extra Inches Barty at the final match of White Hart Lane at White Hart Lane, where all the fans are running onto the field and everything, and everybody's probably destroying everything trying to get a piece of the lane. I think this picture is now my favorite picture that I have in all of my podcast areas or even my office.
Nice.
Just love it. Just love it.
Who doesn't love a good Barty party?
Yeah, that's right. Barty party.
There we go.
Can't tell him we said that. Outside of that, man, it is snowing like the Dickens, as they say.
Yeah, it's funny. So Echo, who our listeners won't be able to see, but you can tell, is a very small dog. And when I took her out today, each time the snow is above her, right? So she goes stepping in the snow, she sinks right down, and then she goes missing. This is the first time since I've had her where she has wanted to cut walks short because she's so uncomfortable with the amount of snow around. And it's hilarious to me.
Well, I went out for about an hour and a half to 2 hours after the match, and I was not necessarily playing in the snow, but had my snowblower out there. Got a very long driveway, right? So, in the car park area, it's really, really fucking large. That whole area is large. Fit about probably 6-7 cars in there. So, I did all that. I snowblowed a path out into the woods so that the kids can go up there and go sledding and all that stuff out in the woods and do whatever it is they do out in the woods, have snowball fights. So I did that for them. It was luckily my wife was nice enough to do the back deck and unearth my grill, because we've been getting quite a bit of snow lately. And the probably 16 inches of snow that we have right now that we got in this storm, compounded with the rest of the snow that we got previous in the past week and a half. Holy shit, man. It was heavy duty stuff, and it's still coming down, and I don't know when it's going to stop.
Yeah, look at that. It is still coming down. I can't imagine it stops anytime soon. I actually think when I last checked, it was going well into the morning. So that'll be fun for
wonderful
any of our commuters. Hopefully they've got enough time to listen to our episode on the drive. They can be safe, take their time. Going wherever they need to go, assuming that they're actually working tomorrow. I know some places in the States, it's a holiday. Not for me, it's not, but I digress. I don't know if you're aware of this, Mike, but Tottenham Hotspur played a game today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Imagine that. It feels like an eternity since we last saw them. But for the first time, we've had a week between games. We hosted Manchester United, and we actually came away with 3 points.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling. Mike, what did you make of that game?
Look, we have some guys back, right? Which made playing the game a little bit easier. We have Matthias Tell working his way into the system, learning the system, learning, what works and what doesn't work for him in the system. So there's going to be some bumps in the road with him. But we had Vic back on the field. We had Ben Davis was back out there. He started in place of Archie Gray, which was nice.
Give him a rest. Kid
give him a
deserves
rest.
it. 17 starts in a row, I think they said.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. And then we had James Madison back, which, let me tell you the difference that it made in the midfield. You know, for the time he was out there and the time that he was able to be effective. And I honestly don't think they should have taken him off, but I think those guys are getting tired. We don't want to risk anything. We want to continue to, march back up the table so that we can finish somewhere respectable. Respectable from where we were.
Yep.
I think we can pretty much say we're pretty safe from relegation now.
Knock on wood.
The big one was Vicario, though. Like him and Madison, it shows you, like, I think when Kinski came in, it was very nice when Kinski came in, right? And he had that nice performance against Liverpool. He got the clean sheet against Liverpool in his first match, and like I was telling everybody, you gotta go. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on the next big keeper at Tottenham Hotspur, but he came in there and he did a job. It seemed now, looking back on it, that the divide between him and Vicario, it's big. It's not as big as the divide between Vicario and Forrester, and I think that we were so used to Forrester and so used to being nervous at the back that when we got Kinski in there, it was really, really nice. It seemed like, and I'm not saying Kinski's not a good player, but it was really nice to have him in there. But
you know what I noticed?
It shows you
the two of them. It's
shot stopping.
Actually, well, yeah, the shot stopping, but it's actually interesting the way that they kind of command their area, particularly on set pieces. Kinski is much more willing to come out and try to make a play for the ball himself, which at times I like to see, and it brings me some comfort. Whereas Vicario tends to stay on his line a bit more and wait to make that stop. I don't know that one play is necessarily better than the other, but I do think that having the both of them competing is going to help elevate each other's game. And that, I think, is what's so important about having a more narrow gap between your starter and your backup keeper.
Yeah, I mean, obviously passing-wise, I think Kinski is better. But for my money, with the shot stopping, with the body positioning, I think with Vicario's ability to communicate well with his back line, I think the back line looked better today because of that. I mean, there were times, obviously, Ben Davis is 34 years old. There were times where, especially in that first half before they got completely, what's the word that the British use, knackered. Hoyland was just destroying Davis in the channels, and by the time he got so tired, and Davis was kind of still playing in the game, and Davis is a player who can command his area. Well, he's not the guy who's going to run back and chase down a defender, right? He obviously didn't against Hoyland. Hoyland terrorized him some parts of the game. Xerxes was good too, I thought, until they got tired. And we can talk about what Amarim said versus how we handle a real injury crisis. But, I think today it felt really, really good. I think we really needed it. And I don't want to take anything away from anybody who was excited about this win. But, it was a touch chaotic at points. I guess is the word chaotic. We kind of haphazardly throwing ourselves around in the midfield. But I think that's also emblematic of a team that actually didn't have to play 3 fucking times in a week. A team that got, some days off of training, even a team that, is getting healthy again. We saw bench players that we haven't seen in a while,
Yeah, hell, Wilson Odebear came on for a couple of minutes there at the end, and we haven't seen him since the first game of the season?
First or second game of the season, yeah.
I mean, look, it was bound to be chaotic. I think a lot of that chaos comes down to having such a narrow lead for the entire match, pretty much. I think if we were able to put away some chances and we were up to 3-0, I think it would have felt a lot more calm. But you could tell, especially with the younger, more inexperienced players like Tell, he started rushing. He started trying to force things to happen where he didn't necessarily need to. And I think a lot of that just comes down to, hey, we're only up by 1. You know, they've got a couple of counterattacks that have been very threatening. If we don't put another one away now, it's going to get problematic for us. And in doing so, you know, obviously nobody's putting the goals away. It was a 1-0 victory. But the mentality, at least from my perspective, having watched it, it did look like there was much more of a frenzy to try to make something happen,
Right.
Which it doesn't make you feel very comfortable. At least it didn't make me feel very comfortable. That's where you get shot in the foot sometimes.
There were a lot of uncomfortable places. I mean, it seemed we would like in the back of a Volkswagen. So there were some points where like we would have possession like every 5 minutes. Like, man, you would like show a little bit of the quality that they have, but you know, having basically someone coming from the retirement home playing midfield for them. Like if they had any kind of effective midfield tonight, we might have been talking about a different story, but they had 2 players that were effective, and neither one of them were named Bruno Fernandes, and because Bruno again is playing out of position too, right? Harry Maguire is fucking shockingly bad.
That's what I keep telling people. Oh no, he's actually good. No, you know what pisses me off about Maguire? Every time he scores a goal, he's like, "Look, I'm not that bad." It's like, yeah, buddy, you are. You're just awful with your big dumb head. But
big slab head.
Yeah, you know. But the interesting thing for me is, you know, talking about the midfield and having to play, you know, the retirement home. That wasn't the commentary for the game. The commentary was that it was Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United kindergarten, with all the academy players. I don't know how many times they mentioned, oh, they had to take a separate bus because you can't have kids with the adults. Okay. But, you know, Spurs have gone through that. We've literally started games where half of our team are, you know, 18, 19 years old. Hell, Bergvall, 18 years old. James Maddison just coming back from injury. That's our midfield alongside Bentancur, who came back from concussion protocol pretty recently. I mean, you know, you want to poke holes in Manchester United's selection and their injury crisis. You know, we've got the same shit going on. We've had it going on for so long, and we don't get that sympathy. And Mike,
no, we don't.
You definitely pointed it out. That's not the shit that we were hearing.
Manchester United circle jerk has been happening for decades, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
Ruben's, oh, I bet a bigger club comment really came back to bite his ass.
It really did. That is now how many matches they haven't actually beaten Tottenham Hotspur at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium since 2021.
Yep.
That's 6 now, I think, without a win against Tottenham.
And we've beaten them 3 times this season. The first Premier League manager.
Without getting too much into Man U, because this is a Tottenham podcast, but the one comment that I heard from the commentary during the game that I kind of agreed with was, but in Tottenham has never gotten the benefit of the doubt of it when compared to other teams, with that it's clear that Tottenham is at least a year or 2 ahead of Manchester United in the project.
Absolutely. I mean, Amarim came in pretty recently and hasn't really had a transfer window, not much of one.
Right. And they didn't have a transfer window really this year. And, they tried to deal Garnacho. They tried to get Matthias Tell, couldn't convince him.
Did you see his comment after the game?
I did not.
Oh, he posted this thing on like Instagram or something where it was just this quote like, "You chose the wrong club," and then he just put the clown emoji.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love Tell right now, man. He's a special kid, and he might not have gotten his goal today. He worked his ass off. He tried his hardest, and he really seems to be passionate about what he's doing. So there's a lot of positives for Tell for me.
He's going to do that with whatever team that
absolutely
he plays for. He's not going to necessarily be the guy. And I think that a lot of people maybe thought that he was going to be the guy who was going to come in and be the be the savior. He was going to come in and be the guy who turns everything around. And he's not he's not a kid who's has the ability to do that. He's coming just like any player. He's coming into a system that he doesn't know. He's coming from a league that, let's be honest, isn't as fast, isn't as physical, isn't as tough as the Premier League. They perform well on the European stage. Sure, they do. That they always do. But it's just a different speed, and it's a different physicality in the Premier League than Bundesliga. And that's not to say that that's not going to change. But where he's from, like, he's not going to be a kid who's going to come in and make an immediate difference and turn the whole fucking ship around. And we can't expect that out of him. We have to expect anything out of him as we would expect out of any transfer that's coming in, or anybody who's not played in this system before. We have to make sure that these players learn the system and that they play within themselves inside of that system as well. And for my money, like, Tell is a 19-year-old kid. He's young enough to learn how to play in this system, and he's going to be effective. His pressing is really, really good. It's not anywhere near where Solanke is, but of course Solanke is older. He's played in the league for a long time. He's had those minutes in this league. I think his off the ball movement is really good. He lacks a little bit of, I think, shot selection. And I think there were a couple of times where there were players that he very easily could have passed to for a better shot on goal when he shot. But I think he is here and he's trying to make a difference, and he's trying to excite the fans, and he does that for me. Like, he makes me excited. Watching him, when a ball is punted back to the goalie, like, just watching him come down the field, waving his arms to the rest of his teammates, trying to urge everybody on and urge everybody forward into the press. Like, that excites me. And that is what, and that is what's going to excite the fans. And that shows me that he is up for the job, and that this might not be what everybody thought it was, which is the 6-month rental.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you called out that he's the 19-year-old kid. There is that inexperience there. We saw it at the end of the game where he had the opportunity one-on-one with Onana. But that's, again, something that is going to improve over time. And his dynamism offers something a bit different than what we would get with Solanke, which for me is crucial because it allows us to shift our tactics slightly, even though people say Ange, never changes tactics. If he adjusts his personnel to play against a different opposition, that's what we're going to get, right? We're going to get somebody who can come in and offer a unique sort of forward play that maybe Solanke isn't suited for. Or, Solanke comes on for, 60, 70 minutes. And then when people are tired of him bossing them around, pushing them around, bodying them, you bring Tell on with his speed and his athleticism, his technique. And all of a sudden you've got a very interesting 20 minutes. I mean, you saw a glimpse of what I'm talking about with Odobert at the end, who, by the way, I am very excited for him to have come back. I think every time he has played, He has looked really bright, really interesting, another dynamic player. And he actually has a relationship with Tell. So I think that over time, we're going to see some really interesting moments with the two of them overlapping and helping each other out. But yeah, great player, great kid. I'm really excited for him. I want to talk about Danzo a bit because you had the benefit of a brief rewatch more recently than I did. I know
A
you
little
like to do your
fast
rewatch.
speed rewatch, you know.
I don't know if you picked up on this, but I definitely did during the broadcast. Danzo is growing in confidence to the point where he is starting to step into midfield, kind of like how Romero did. And I really like what I see with that. He offers that extra option for passing. He offers an opportunity to intercept or make a crucial tackle, but he's also smart enough to know when he needs to back off and sit back a little bit. And if somebody does get the best of him, he doesn't give up. He powers forward. He uses his strength, his body to make things uncomfortable. He's not as fast as a Van de Ven, but he's a smart player, and I really liked what I saw from him. Well taken, 70-ish minutes or however 60, 70 minutes, however long he was on there.
Yeah, I think that the guy's a professional, right? He's a professional. He does his job well. He's intelligent. He makes good decisions when he's on the ball. There's not much I can complain about right now. He is not necessarily a Romero replacement, but he gives that air of confidence out there, and I don't think he gets very nervous when he's on the ball. So.
You know what actually surprised me today? And it's nothing, well, it's kind of Spurs related, but it's nothing to do with the team itself. It was actually your reaction, Mike, to Ange's substitutes. So you, who have been a very vocal critic of how Postecoglou uses his substitutes, didn't have anything bad to say today. What's up with that?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm eating my dinner right now, but
you're fine.
I'm fine.
Parmesan dill buffalo wings. I mean, come on.
I know.
Only we could share that with everybody.
I didn't get the chance to make them for the Super Bowl because I was on call and I didn't want to make a bad decision in trying to cook something and then get called in. But anyway, yeah. I think the substitutions were good today. I think he made the right subs at the right time for the right players. I think you saw a little bit of Brennan Johnson was still a little bit like hesitant to do what he usually does,
Yep.
and to get on his horse. And I think there was maybe some instruction in that maybe, take your time. Don't work to yourself too hard. And if you feel anything, make sure that you dial it back a little. There were points where I was like, holy shit, I forgot how fast he was. And then there were points where it was like, holy shit, I can't believe I forgot how bad, his decision-making is sometimes with his passes. But yeah, I think they were the right subs at the right time. It allowed Decky to move more centrally. The only one that I maybe thought that shouldn't have been made, and it kind of seemed like we were resigned to go very defensive, which was the Papsar decision. I think Basuma was badly needed out there at that point. Bentancur had a possible head injury, had a possible knee injury. You saw him on the bench afterwards with ice on his knee. He got that knee-to-knee knock. So and Danzo had to come out because he's possibly injured as well. So so it looked like there was an injury with him too. So he had to come out, but that, it was nice to be able to have a fresh RG Gray come in, right? But I think Ange made the substitutions at the right times. He made the substitutions in the right places. And I think he got it right today. And, despite a lot of moments where we're, biting our nails because it seemed every 5 minutes, United would put in this little surge for a minute or so and then back off again, just because they just didn't have the substitutes to put in, and Amarim was unwilling to give it a shot with the teenagers until like the 86th minute, right?
Yeah, but again, that's also something that Spurs have been coping with for 2.5 months at least. So it's and I think Andrew was spot on in his post match where he talked about, hey, yeah, I feel for him. That was one game. I've been doing it for 2 months, which people are then going to start pointing. Well, yeah, but before the injury crisis, your points per game was abysmal, and
it was.
There's valid criticism there. I don't know that he necessarily does himself any favors by making those comments, but hey, it's something I think United fans are going to need to get used to if these injuries start to pile up. And honestly, I think we're starting to see it in other teams across the league too, where they're getting injury after injury after injury, especially those who are still in multiple competitions. Aston Villa, yeah, you've heard.
They still came out and bossed us, but I mean,
yeah, I mean, Arteta's been whining about his injury crisis for the last few games. I mean,
they don't look like they're in any kind of injury crisis. They're on the up,
Yeah, but I mean, him in particular just pisses me off because it's like, oh, you lost a player. It's not a crisis, all right? Calm down. You're still competing. But I do think that the way that games are played and the pressure that gets put on a lot of these players between, domestic league, cup competitions, European competition, internationals. I mean, these guys are being run into the ground. And at some point, we're going to be looking at, okay, well, it's not just about your starting 11 and your B team. It's also who do you got on your C team? Who's in your academy that you can call on when the crisis gets really bad. And personally, I don't think that really makes for very entertaining viewing. I know that there are people out there going, more games. I want to see, 2-3 games a week. I don't, I want to see quality over quantity, but I think this game in particular was emblematic of a quantity type game, right? Neither team was particularly sharp. There were plenty of areas that we could critique for both sides. For Spurs, we've talked about the inability to finish, maintaining only that one goal lead, frenzy, chaos. You could have similar conversations about United, but at some point, I think that organizationally, people really need to look and say, is it right to have so many games in a calendar year? Because you start to see that decline. It becomes less fun to watch. It becomes more of and I think Spurs fans know this best. It becomes more of can we make it through without another one going down? And you got to remember, these players, they're people. They're not robots. They have their own feelings. They have their own emotions. And, you see a lot of that. Hell, we saw Dragusin's very passionate post from his surgery. That's not the kind of thing I want that passion to be on the field, not in an operating room or in a recovery room, but I digress quite a bit. I do think it's something that officials need to take a look at and really start to maybe tone it down with these insane competitions. Because I feel like they keep introducing new ones, and it's like, do we really need this? Is anybody asking for it?
Next competition is going to be the fucking Governor's Cup or some stupid shit like that. That only 21 and youngers can play in, but they have to play in their first team on the first team squad, and you have to have there are going to be all kinds of different rules for this competition. There's going to be something stupid that fucking comes up once teams teams and clubs learn how to cope with, playing 3 and 4 times a week from, November through goddamn February and March. It creates more injuries. It creates it creates well, it creates money for the clubs, right? Because they get more game match day money coming out of it. But and if you win, you make money out of it. But like it creates a situation where with these players, it's just an untenable situation, and injuries are going to happen, and it's showing that they are. It's the same thing with the NFL. We always talk about the NFL, like we want more games, more games, more games. Well, in the NFL, what do? They cut the preseason by 1 week and lengthen the regular season by 1 week. And how many injuries did you see across the NFL, especially joint and tendon and ligament injuries? Like these are serious injuries that can end people's careers, and we have to start protecting the teams. And if we can't do that, then what's the fucking point, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we love. I love the fact that yes, sure, we are. It is the beautiful game, and we need this competition and this competition to be there, because of history, and like this game is so dependent on history and good feelings from the history of these clubs, that if they don't have those trophies, then it makes you look like you're like you're not a successful club. And that's just not true for a lot of these clubs. A lot of these clubs don't have great histories. Newcastle United hasn't won a trophy in longer time period than Tottenham. Does that mean that they don't have an amazing, wonderful history? No, it doesn't mean that. Just because Man City has won fucking 20 of the last 30 fucking Premier Leagues or whatever it is, it doesn't mean that they have a better history than, say, Burnley Football Club.
Yeah, I could go on and on about the dangers and evils of greed, not just on football, but on all aspects of our life. But there is a very special question that I want to ask before we get too carried away. Hey, Mike, what'd you think about Djed Spence?
Queued it right up. Djed Spence. God, what a beautiful footballer, man. I mean, he changed his hairstyle today too, which may have led to his getting the player of the match. But it was noticed in my household by the others who are casual watchers, that when he runs, even with the ball, it's like he's gliding.
Absolutely.
It's insane how easy he makes it look. He doesn't look like the dude isn't. I don't think the dude has ever in his career had a bead of sweat come down his head. He doesn't look like he's working hard. He's getting the job done. He glides when he runs like he's on fucking ice skates. It's insane. And in his like gliding runs when he has the ball, the long strides, the long strides, like he just like it's like taking 2 or 3 steps for a normal player. It sucks that he's probably not ever going to be a great forward player. You never know, but he's probably not ever going to be a great forward player. But the way he plays is just so beautiful and so elegant, and he has really made a tough time for the fans much easier to handle.
And it's not just the looks either. The stats back it up. I mean, you look at where he ranks amongst all of Spurs for today's match. First in duels won, first in final third entries, first in sprints, tied for first, I guess, in successful dribbles. I mean, he's backing up. So he doesn't just pass the vision test. He also passed the stats test, which for a guy like me is just perfection. So well deserved player of the match for Djed. And also, hey Mike, what you drinking?
He got to it. He got to it.
I
You
was
can't
getting
fool me,
there.
Steve. You can't fool me. Are you able to pull up the spreadsheet
I've got the spreadsheet.
with a
Don't you
lapdog?
worry.
Oh, you do.
Don't you
Okay.
worry.
Well, then, kids today. Oh, look at that! I have a Dr. Pepper in there.
We're going to be doing Dr. Pepper.
No, yeah, we certainly are not. But we are going to do, since it is a winter time, we are going to do a nice little winter warmer beer. Product of England from Tadcaster, which is in, I believe, York.
Yes, where peppermint patties are from.
Correct, where peppermint patties are from. Samuel Smith's Imperial Stout.
Samuel Smith? I'm drinking a Samuel Adams.
Oh.
I'll have a Samuel Jackson.
We'll do a battle of the Samuels. I have never had the Imperial Stout. Samuel Smith's Imperial Stout. I've had the oatmeal stout, which is phenomenal. I've had the old Tadcaster, which is also phenomenal. But yeah, this is brewed and fermented in stone Yorkshire squares. So it's still brewed and fermented the old way. This thing was awarded the silver medal for a bottled ale in 1930. This is pretty cool. An Imperial Stout, the old brewery, established in 1758. So now we know why the British were taxing us so much.
Because of this specific beer that you're drinking.
That's correct. All right. I have this really cool, I don't know, I think I've mentioned it on here before, but I have this really, really cool bottle opener. It's made from a railroad tie.
Nice.
Isn't that cool?
I mean, the cap looks like a champagne bottle, but
yeah, I'm just gonna open it. I'm not gonna fool with the
foil or whatever it is.
Foil.
What's the ABV on that bad boy?
This beer, I don't know that it has the ABV on there. I'm assuming it's probably around 7%. Oh, it says it right here, 7% alcohol.
There we go, 7%.
All right. So obviously we're getting right back to stouts.
Stout. Let it all out.
I can't even trust you. I can't trust you being on the podcast. So yeah, I'm gonna pour this. It's gonna be dark. Probably the thick blackhead. Probably biscuity. Tan colored. I'm expecting this beer. Oh man, wow. Does that fit into a traditional pint glass very nicely? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
That is quite nice, quite lovely. And it is very dark.
It is very
dark indeed.
So my assumption is that this is probably going to be pretty creamy. It's probably going to taste and smell like it give you a little bit of that cocoa, a little coffee to it. This is an old beer. Smells wicked boozy. It kind of has like smells like raisins, maybe
raisins,
plums. I don't know. Like
sugar.
Amy's been drinking some wines recently where you can really pick out like the tasting notes or the notes for the nose, based on the fruits, you know, that the grapes impart. But like this smell, it gives plums, raisins. I love plums. But it also has like a coffee bit to it. It's really kind of an assault on the senses. Let's give it a taste.
All right, here we go. I am very excited to hear how this raisin beer turns out.
Whew, that is coffee. That is caramel, like a bitter dark chocolate. A little bit of smokiness, and to the alcohol, the booziness of the smell. Honestly, pretty smooth, man. Pretty smooth. Pretty well balanced.
Interesting. Balanced. Not what I would have expected from something coming from good old England. They don't seem very balanced.
No, they seem kind of Brexity these days.
That's what I'm saying. Not that we have really much to talk about.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we seem pretty Trumpy these days. So,
yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah. So, great lacing, huh? Look at that. Nice retention on the head. Like we're not getting a little too sexy here, are we? For you, Steve?
I don't know. I don't know.
Mild carbonation, not overly carbonated, not super boozy or anything like that. I think my overall impression of this beer is like, it's a perfect English style, like stout, super complex flavors and aromas. Remember when we used to make fun of what's his name?
Lone Freighter
for being a fucking nerd.
Yep.
This is what this is what I've been doing lately. I have like 1 or 2 beers at a time. I don't go and drink the 3, 4, 5 beers anymore. Because I can't, because I'm old. And I have to sleep. But I can tell you, like, I've been picking up on a lot of this stuff that these fucking beer nerds talk about. I've also been doing some reading, which is also different for me. I needed Dave to be here for that. For that comment that I made. But you know, this beer is overall very good. Very good.
Oh, interesting. It's a very good beer. I am ready with my guess. I'm locked in.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
3.95.
Oh, I was so close. I had 4.0.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's as close to a 4.0 as it gets. I don't usually do the double digits, but like
you did it one other time with a coffee porter.
Well, maybe we have a theme here because those aren't typically beers that I'm big on, right? Like I'm not big on those on stouts. I'm trying really, really hard this year. But I'm not really hugely it's not really in my my beer Rolodex, you know. I don't jump to them when I go to the bevy.
Fair. Yeah, I get that. So 3.95. What about a player? A player.
3.95 player. 3.95 player.
That's it. Almost harder than coming to a decision on how good the beer is.
You know what? I'm going to say Toby.
Toby. Interesting.
Yep. Yep.
You
balanced, mild, like never like Toby was unflappable, you know. I like just a great overall player without having to be the best player on the field all the time. That's what this beer is like. And coming from a traditionally great brewery, right? Historical brewery and playing on a historical team like Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
You know what's really going to drive fans wild? Our longtime listeners who are very familiar with Hey Mike.
Are dozens and dozens of them.
Yep. You gave 3.95 to one other beer since we started capturing this. You know what player you said at that point in time was a 3.
Did I say Toby Alderweireld?
You said Musa Sissoko.
Motherfucker. Can I take it back? Can I take that back?
I don't think Brian's going to allow that.
Prime Musa Sissoko, like 2019, 2018, 19 Musa Sissoko.
He scored, by the way, this weekend's fixtures. Sissoko did.
He's still playing.
Yeah, he was captaining Watford.
Oh, that's right. I forget he's with Watford. And you know what, Steve? You have your finger on the pulse of former Tottenham players. Good for you.
I just happened to see it when I was watching Big Willie Langshear until he got subbed off, and I turned off the stream.
Are you a big fan of the Championship? Is that what you do?
No, I happened to see on Reddit that Langshear was starting for West Brom and figured, hey, I got nothing better to do. Let's watch Big Willie. And then he got subbed off, and I said, well, I don't care enough about West Brom to continue this, but
I did find myself doing a little bit of a doom scroll and found a beautiful highlight of Yang, and they fucking love him at QPR.
From all I've heard, he has been spectacular.
Holy shit.
That's another exciting player, somebody that I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of in the future.
Let him go to the Championship and get his ankles kicked out for a season, for most of the season, half a season.
Hey, it looks like it's working. I think he had like an 8.0 out of 10 in his last fixture. He picked up an assist too, I think.
Yeah, this was the assist, yeah.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it was intelligent, well taken, and considering he's only been with the team for a couple of weeks, like that, it bodes well for us, I think, in the future. We've got another bright South Korean. I have to specify South Korean because I don't know if you saw this, but Kim Jong-un has officially banned North Koreans from watching Tottenham Hotspur specifically.
Specifically because they have two South Korean nationals on the team.
I mean, yeah. And what was amusing to me is you look at the comments on social media on those posts, and it's like, it's probably the best thing he's done for the country in a long time.
It probably is. I mean, they don't want to depress those folks anymore.
Like, I've got a lot of pride in the self-deprecating Spurs fans. All of you listeners out there who can kind of poke fun at yourselves for our collective.
What do we have left? I mean, honestly, what do we have left? We got nothing left, man. I mean, how can we not be self-deprecating?
Absolutely. Hell, even the commentary team, I don't know if you caught it during the game, were like, if they did get rid of Ange, the league would get a lot more boring.
They did say that, yeah. And for what it's worth, Ange pointed out the fact that yes, he is grumpy. He is Mr. Grumpy Bear, and he makes some comments that rub people the wrong way, especially Rebecca Lowe, whom I have lost a lot of respect for after her rant on how rude Ange is. And while maybe he is rude to reporters sometimes, the comments that she was pointing out were rude to the reporter were kind of, in my mind, validated by the fact that the reporter was being a fucking dick too.
That's the thing. It
doesn't mean that he has to be like, he has to go down to that level, but at the same time, he has to be like, yeah, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're trying to be a professional here.
I actually appreciate that because there are a lot of, and I'm going to use reporter very loosely here, because they seem to just go into these press conferences looking to push buttons, ask stupid questions.
This wasn't even a press conference, Steve. This was like, in front of the backdrop, post-match.
Even still, though, it's lazy journalism when you're just looking for the... what's the spicy thing that I can say to get a reaction out of somebody?
It's lazy journalism, and it's lazy punditry too. When it gets to the 3 to 4 people on the desk,
Yeah, I mean, look, how many times have we seen this season where you get the same question asked 3 or 4 times, and it's like, what do you want? Like, do you want a specific answer? What's going on here? So I actually appreciate that he kind of calls attention to that really shitty journalism, if you can call it that. And yeah, maybe it could be done nicer, but on the same token, I don't give a fuck. They could ask questions that are actually insightful and meaningful. You know, we could play this game all night long, but this is only an hour-long show, and I want to look towards the future. So, how about we look ahead here, Mike? We've got another week until our next game, and then it's Ipswich. Ipswich. How are you feeling about the team that we let win earlier this season
in our house?
In our house, in the middle of anyway.
I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable with Ipswich. God, teams who are fighting relegation right now, and they are fighting relegation, right? They're just what, a point below or 2 points below Wolverhampton Wanderers.
They are 2 points below Wolves.
2 points behind Wolverhampton. Okay. Teams that are fighting relegation often, especially these teams who are not traditionally, in a relegation battle, like we weren't, but like these teams that are traditionally there, who have just come up, these teams are trying to stay there. They generally are like, they're like, fuck it. What are we going to do? Let's just go out, play our game, and see what happens. They never really try to hunker down until maybe they get a lead. They'll hunker down and play defense. But these teams, they're dangerous because they're like that dog that hasn't been fed in a while, right? So, once you let that dog off the chain, they're gonna try and bite anything they fucking can, because they haven't been fed in a while and they're very, very hungry, and they will fucking eat anything they can. It's like the dude in Snatch, right? Who didn't feed his pigs for a long time. Was that Snatch? He would throw the mobster who would throw the his enemies to the pigs, and the pigs would eat them because he didn't feed them. It's kind of like that. They're dangerous. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but they're
backs against the wall. They're
backs against the wall. Dangerous. They have nothing to lose from just going all out and playing a game. And they're going to come out and they're going to be physical. They're going to come out and throw caution to the wind. Like, they have good players on that team. I don't know. I haven't watched recently, but I believe Delap is still there. That guy's always fucking dangerous. They have decent goalkeeping. Delap is there. Like, he's got 10 goals.
Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, they have Calvin Phillips. Like, this is a team that has players that have played in the league, right? They're a dangerous team, and especially at home, and they're gonna go all out, and they're fighting that relegation, and they're right there in that battle to stay up.
They managed to draw Aston Villa just yesterday.
Aston Villa, who is we'll admit, is in an injury crisis right now.
And they did it down a player. They had Axel Tuanzebe, or however you pronounce that, sent off after 40 minutes. So he won't be available for us. That's something, I guess. Sure.
I mean, Ollie Watkins wasn't there for Aston Villa, and they still pumped us. So who knows?
Fair enough.
Who knows? I will I will give them a fighting chance. They have Amari Hutchinson too, who's an exciting player. Like, I won't take anything away from Ipswich. If of all the promoted teams from last year, they're probably the most fun to watch.
I would agree.
I mean, shit, they beat Chelsea at home, right? So.
Yeah, I remember that specifically because it's like, oh, and everybody said we were bad. But I mean, that is partially why I'm also nervous for it, right? Like this is a game that we absolutely need to win. Um, and I would hope that we would, especially with some of these guys coming back from injury, having another week between games. But Spurs are so wildly inconsistent. Who knows what's going to happen? Oddly enough, because I'm looking at their schedule right now. After Tottenham, they have Manchester United. That should probably be an easier game for them, I would think. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll rest some players. No, I'm just kidding. They're not going to do that. What else do they have going on?
I mean, Tottenham are trying to are a team that are trying to climb out of the cellar, right? They were in the cellar as it gets for a team who is considered a quote unquote big six, who was they're in the cellar, so they had that kind of starving dog attitude for a second too, and we keep getting fed bits of kibble with men coming back, with performances that we've been getting out of Jed Spence, who, along with probably Kulusevski, has been our most consistent player all season. Despite not having been there for the first 10, 12 matches of the season. I like what I'm seeing. I expect there to be a lot of rotation in this game. With the players coming back, I'm hoping to see Jed maybe move to the right and Udogie get a sniff, because he didn't get a sniff at the field today. I'm hoping that Mikey Moore gets a couple more minutes. I'm thinking that Danso should probably sit down for this one and let Archie take it. And depending on who we get back next week, we could possibly see Mickey. We never know when we're going to see Mickey again, but because of that situation, I don't know. Did we talk about that last podcast?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah. We could be getting Romero back. We could be getting anyone back. Who knows? Mixed bag. So I'm excited to see where we go from here.
I'm excited as well. And we are getting just to the hour mark here, Mike. So why don't we move on to our final thoughts to close things out and, let people enjoy this, for us, snowy Sunday.
Yeah, I'm done outside today. I want to, in my final thoughts today, I will say that hold on, everybody, because we're in for a wild ride for the rest of the season. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that, because I've been talking ad nauseum, probably mostly bullshit for the past hour. So,
is there any other way to do a podcast?
I really guess I sometimes there is a little bit of truth in things that are said on podcasts. Things that I say, like I make half of this shit up because I'm apparently not a real soccer fan because I never played, so I don't know what I'm talking about. This comes from commenters and people that I know. That doesn't mean I'm any less of a fan. But that said, I want to plug our local club right now. I know I do it. I get on the extra Discord. I get on a couple different other Discords and on some social media and plug our club, VGFC. I want to plug them because once again they have made a turn that I didn't expect. That I did expect because I knew, but I didn't expect they would be going there this quickly in their young career as a club. But they have switched managers. Chris Taylor, who is from Liverpool, he has been associate head coach for all 3 seasons. He's very experienced. He coached national championship teams at Plattsburgh College. he is well liked by the players, which has left Adam Pfeiffer to be able to do his director of football duties. And last year, Adam Pfeiffer was supposed to give up the head coaching reins, and because the head coach that they had chosen left unexpectedly for a job in a higher league, we ended up with Pfeiffer again. But this year, I think Chris Taylor's he plays front foot football. I don't think we're going to be playing as much of a high line this year. We already have 2 additions of one Columbus Crew Academy player and draftee. Zach Zenge will be back, as well as our very own rock in the middle, Musa Njae. Musa is a central defensive midfielder. He's a center back. He is a player who is he's exciting to watch. He's great on the ball. He's pretty unflappable when it comes to his play on the ball, up against a lot of pressure. And I think that those 2 guys being leaders, they've both been given the captaincy. So very excited to have them back. Zach is great. His whole family is just they're just amazing people. And I can't wait to have them back. And Zach has been a favorite of mine since I met him in the second season. But what I really want to talk about is the addition of an extra game for the women's team, which will precede hopefully a full season at some point when we can find a league that has teams near us that we can play without having to fucking fly there. So whether that means going professional or not with our women's team, we'll see. But back to coach for a second year is U.S. Olympian, U.S. women's national team, former named best women's player in the world, Sam Mewis.
World Cup winner. Yeah. She is like multiple World Cup winner, right? She's just a great person. She's there with the club. She loves the club. She loves the women, the young women and girls she gets to work with. And she doesn't take this job lightly. So let's just put it that way. And I think like growing the women's game from a grassroots standpoint, from a small club standpoint, starting it from the seedlings that they did, and bringing it up through the way they're doing, small bits at a time, I think is amazing. And it's great for the women's game, not just here, but for around the world. Absolutely. Sam Mewis just happens to be one of my favorite women's players. Their second game is on my birthday. So I'm very excited to catch both of those games. I already got my tickets. Very excited. Absolutely thrilled. I'm so looking forward to the season starting. Their home opener is Memorial Day weekend for anybody in the area, which will be the Maple Cup.
Which is a friendly against the champions from Quebec.
Yeah, what is it? Laval FC or something like that?
Yep.
That'll be a good game.
We have better maple syrup. I mean, that's going to be
that'll be the I'm going to keep it going for you guys.
Thank you. I won't be there. I will be. It's the youth tournament season, so
yeah, that's just the way it is. But my final thoughts. Actually, it kind of pairs nicely with the Green being a local community club. Something near and dear to us. I've been stressed lately. I know a lot of people around, especially the U.S., have been very stressed over, a lot of the goings on here, the insanity that we have in our political climate, which is quite unfortunate. But I'm here to hopefully be a little bit optimistic for once. I truly believe, and maybe this is the new fledgling Vermonter in me talking, but I believe that in these odd times, these crises, these difficult situations where a lot is unknown, people feel like they're under attack, and the sky is falling. We're all Chicken Little here. I think this is a great time to remind people the power of community. Community, I think, is something that maybe has kind of been forgotten a bit with the surge of social media. People are more globalized, and they don't necessarily see what's going on in their own backyard. Uh, but if you look around you, and I mean, taking this from our personal experience here, Vermont Green being an absolute shining example of it, there are tons of people in the community that would go to bat for one another, that would take care, keep each other safe, um, really make sure that if times get tough, uh, that people are taken care of and that they've got a place to go, they've got food, they've got shelter. There's so much good out there locally, and I would encourage people, if you're not engaged, if you're not involved in your local community, see what opportunities are out there. See if there's something that you can do, a group you can join, something that you can volunteer to do, something that you can, find interest in, and just grow that community. I know we at Wicked Spursy, we've got our own small little community here based on our Spurs fans, but I've also been able to coach within my community. I just got my referee license, so I'll be reffing youth soccer probably this spring, summer, at another community that I will be joining. And, not for nothing, there are a lot of good people out there that don't have hundreds of thousands of followers, that aren't making TikToks, that aren't, tweeting every 5 minutes. And you would never know if you didn't get out and see what your community is about. Check your local library. They usually have, bulletin boards of things going on, rec departments, different organizations, whether they're nonprofit or volunteer led, where you can get, local people by you together for a common purpose. I know one of the ones that I learned about last season that looks like they're ramping up efforts is Dad's Guild, local to Burlington, which seems to be taking off. I know they've got a Spurs fan in their ranks. So, but that's the kind of thing, right? If you're not seeing that level of support, if you're not seeing what you need from your community, there's also the opportunity to go out there and start something. I guarantee that there are good people near you, our listeners, who are equally afraid, who are equally looking for connection, for somebody to, have their back, to stand shoulder to shoulder and just do something fun and give back and volunteer and, just live life and enjoy it while you can. So I would encourage you guys to get out, explore your community, see if there's something that you can join or start, or bring people together. And, we can't really necessarily rely on those in power to help us. So let's just make sure that we're set to help each other out and have each other's backs and do what our governments don't want to. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
That was beautiful, Steve.
Thank you, Mike. And with that, I'm just thinking about what Dave would say. Good old Dave.
Good old Dave. When will we hear from him again?
I just don't know. I like to imagine that he is in a hot air balloon circling the world, trying to best 80 days.
Him and Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a terrible remake.
That's a podcast I would watch, though. Dave and Jackie Chan exploring the world.
Oh, Dave, we miss you and we love you.
Absolutely. But I know that he would want to hear me say a couple of things. For starters, coins.
And
Don't be an asshole. And Mike, I know that he's got some things he wants to hear from you.
Yep. I just want everybody to make sure that, and this is the message, it relates to what Steve said in his final thoughts. I want everybody to go out there, get into your communities, but while you're doing those things, just make sure that you're being safe and make sure that you protect your mental health at all costs.
And
Tottenham Hotspur action. It's fantastic. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
And I'm almost there. I should text Dave. I haven't heard from him in a while. I wonder how he's doing.
Yeah, maybe when the snow stuff, he's probably buried in fucking snow.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe when